back to First Take. With 6 games left in the regular season, the Timberwolves sat Anthony Edwards last night against the Pistons due to a right knee injury and an illness, which means he only played in 58 games that count toward the league's record, and he now becomes ineligible for postseason awards. Ant-Man had played in at least 70 games in his first 5 seasons in the league. So with Edwards ineligible for NBA awards, there are multiple other stars on the cusp of being ineligible for awards as well, including Cade Cunningham, Luka Doncic, and Wemby, just to name a few. Perk is back here with us. And Stephen A., I ask you this. Does this rule of them having to play a specific number of games devalue the postseason awards?
Perhaps, but I don't care. I'm very, very happy. And I hope that the players continue to complain about it. I hope they make all the noise in the world. I hope it makes them sick to their stomach. Because at that point, all it will do is provoke conversation and dialogue about why the rule came into existence to begin with.
Thank you.
The NBA had no desire to do this. The NBA had no desire to do it. What are you talking about here, Shay? So the NBA, which recently signed an 11-year, $77 billion deal, okay, wants to implement a rule that will deny who's the legitimate MVP, who's the legitimate All-NBA team, who's the legitimate whatever other award you want to pick. The NBA would want to compromise that? Of course they wouldn't. But this came into play because they had to find a way somehow to incentivize players to play because players were missing games like it was going out of style and having no compunction about it. How many times, Shay, Big Perk, by the way, beautiful outfit today, by the way. I usually would get on you without having a tie, but you're looking good today, my brother, so props to you.
Well,
here's the point that I'm trying to make to you, all right? I like the silk-looking material. Keep in mind, I'm going to copy it soon. But anyway, my point is this. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. How many times have y'all watched a player not play, but come out there with a smile on their face, in street clothes, not signing any autographs, not taking any pictures, jumping up and down, smiling, fraternizing with the players in street clothes while a paying customer came and didn't know they weren't going to be playing? How many times have we seen that throughout the years? The NBA had to do something. And so I get the part that there are things to complain about with the rule. I totally understand. I'm also saying that complaints are legitimate. I get that. Anthony Edwards is out with a legitimate injury. Steph Curry has missed games. Those are legitimate injuries. We get that. But on far too many occasions, missed games were questionable on the part of too many players. And as a result, the NBA felt compelled to step in because advertisers, sponsors, and patrons who patronize their product and their brand were making these complaints. They forced the NBA's hand. This is not the NBA's fault. These are the players in their respective teams. And we have to remember that.
Really quick, Perk, before you go, Stephen A., I just want to push back a little. Now, we did point out maybe it's some of the teams that make players sit, not always the players that want to sit. So wouldn't the teams be just as much at fault for this issue as well?
I said the players. I said the players in the respective teams that they play for.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Perk.
Yeah. Right.
Hell yeah. And listen, I love Greg Popovich. He's one of the greatest, if not greatest, coaches to ever coach the game of basketball. But he's at fault here. He started the whole load management. That's how we got to this point. And then everybody else followed. And so this rule, I don't care if this rule affects or devalues the awards, because this rule was not put in place because of the awards. This rule was put in place for the fans, for justice for the fans, people who pay their hard-earned money to come and watch players play, and all of a sudden they show up and these players are sitting out games because let me take y'all behind the scenes of what happens before the season starts. Before the season starts, especially with some of these franchise players around the league, they get with their organization, they look at the schedule throughout the course of the whole season, and they actually were planning games that they were going to miss and sit out, whether it was back-to-backs or whatever the case may be. This rule is a rule that holds guys accountable. Because people were starting, players and organizations was starting to disrespect the greats that came before them. Guys that paved the way like Jordan, Magic, Bird, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, the list goes on, that took pride in playing games every single night. And I'm going to say this falls under the same category to me as the whole tanking situation. I'm putting it all in one basket. Like, it's another thing that we're going to have to address because you're also cheating the fans. And we hearing the rumors, we hearing the whispers about the Bucks and Giannis not being on the same page right now because Giannis wants to play, the Bucks don't want him to play. It brings me to a story real quick. Do you know the reason why Kevin Garnett and the Minnesota Timberwolves ended their relationship when KG was playing? Was because KG was in the locker room one day, about to put on his jersey and get ready to run out on the floor. And they came in and told Kevin Garnett, "You're not playing tonight." And he said, "What? You're not playing tonight." You know why? Because they were trying to tank. They didn't want to win games. And that ended the relationship. So it's so many areas that we could dive into when it comes to these rules, but I'm with Stephen A. I don't give a damn. If they doing all the crying, what the babies go do? Leave some room for the babies.
Look, I agree with you. It's getting outrageous.
Let me put something in perspective, Shay. In 15 seasons, Michael Jordan played 80 games, at least 80 games, 11 times. 11 out of 15 years, okay? 11 times. Kobe Bryant did it 6 times. Do you want me to blow y'all away with another stat? Shaquille O'Neal did it 3 times. Shaquille O'Neal, 7'1", 340, 350, played at least 80 games in a season 3 times. How many of these dudes have done that?
Yeah, there you go. Here are some players that are close to becoming ineligible. We have Cade Cunningham, Nikola Jokic, Kawhi Leonard, and then Victor Wembanyama can only miss 2 more games or he would become ineligible. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen with 5 or 6.
At least. He's not going to be eligible. Anthony Edwards had to miss last night's game because he's still dealing with that knee swelling. He's going to be ineligible forwards. There's no way you can watch this NBA season and wonder whether those guys are deserving of being on the All-NBA teams. Luka's leading the league in scoring. Ant's third. Cade Cunningham's been the driving force of a Detroit team that's the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And as J.B. Bickerstaff, the Pistons coach, has said on multiple times, I understand the intent of the rule, but this isn't right. And I do think the NBA has got to look at some sort of exceptions. There are some very specific exceptions written into the rule, but none of those apply to these guys. My suggestion, if a guy has 2,000 minutes played and a significant injury, they should be granted an exception to be eligible for awards and then leave it in the hands of the voters. But again, there's no way you're looking at the ballot and wondering if Luka Doncic is a first-team All-NBA player, wondering if Cade Cunningham and Anthony Edwards belong, you can argue first-team, second-team, somewhere on those ballots. Now, kind of a cruel twist here. That would have been Luka's 65th game, but he was suspended Monday night because of his 16th technical foul.
So there's that side of it as well. I am so torn because anyone who has ever paid attention to my shows going back to the Mike and Mike days, to me, load management is one of the worst things that has happened in sports in recent years. Players taking all these games off. That's why these rules are in place. And so I support the spirit of the rule completely. And if you're looking for someone to blame, that's who you blame. You blame the players themselves who have turned the regular season, who have made it seem so meaningless to play in all of these games that they put the league in a position where they had to put this rule in the first place. Adam Silver didn't wake up one morning and say, I think I'm just arbitrarily going to create a rule about postseason award eligibility. He had to do it to combat what was and is a significant NBA problem. Now, having said that, we also deal with the reality that, Tim, what you just said, I agree with. This is not what the rule was intended to adjust, to attack. This is not the problem it was trying to solve, and it creates another problem where if we put together all NBA teams that don't include the three names you just mentioned, it's somewhat farcical, right? It looks a little bit ridiculous. So how do you think they handle it? What do you think the league ultimately does here, Tim?
Yeah, it's almost becoming like the NFL's Pro Bowl, where it's like, how many injury, replacements do you need to get to? Is Shedeur Sanders going to be on the All-NBA team? But I think, again, this is something that the league is going to have to discuss. Adam Silver